Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back here with Thomas Bergvik. Bergvik. He is a nationally certified counselor, licensed professional counselor, and he can help you in so many different ways. Want to point out off the top, it's bergvikcounselingservices.com. That's spelled Bergvik, counselingservices.com. You have your master's degree and so much more to you. For those new listeners out there today, we're also live on Zoom. If you're watching, please give us a little bit of your background information, Thomas, to start.
Okay. Actually, I've been working in mental health, substance abuse. I work with developmental disabilities and also traumatic brain injury off and on since the 70s. And I used to be a nursing home administrator back in the day. But I really, to make a long story short, realized that I really like working directly with people. That seems to be my natural inclination, and I've had a really positive effect on people that I've worked with, and my clients tell me that. So
yeah, and tell me where you're from, where are you based out of specifically, and where you can work with people.
My office is in Hamden, Connecticut, about roughly, let's say 2-3 miles, maybe 4 miles from at most from the New Haven line. I'm on Whitney Avenue in Hamden, which is a straight line from New Haven. So if you're in the New Haven area, you go down Whitney Avenue from New Haven, you'll get to my office. It's in the Mount Carmel section of Hamden, not too far from my alma mater, Quinnipiac. So that's where I am.
Great. And let's talk specifically about the type of counseling you do. And by the way, can you just work with those in the state of Connecticut, or do you do telehealth as well to other people in other states?
I do telehealth. I have done telehealth for people as far away as California when I was with BetterHelp. Because of the pandemic, a lot of states have really loosened up the licensing requirements. So I was able to do it legally under those circumstances. I've helped, like I said, I've helped people from other states as well, working with mostly individual issues on that basis, but I specialize with couples. I also have done sex therapy. I'm pre-certified in sex therapy, and hopefully I'm going to become certified in the not too distant future. I've been working with Tammy Nelson, who's known for her for sex therapy.
Great. So addiction, recovery, anxiety, depression, couples counseling, individual counseling. Tom does it all. Let's put out the number. If you guys have any questions, you can call us. We continue the conversation today, getting to know him and how he can help you, but he can answer any questions you may have. 631-317-1291. That's 631-317-1291. We're opening up those lines now. So as we continue to discuss anything, no topic is off limits. Please feel free to give us a call. Again, 631-317-1291. So where did you want to start today about all the different options and services you offer? He's like,
this might be a little bit controversial, but I have a theory that we have been having problems. We have an epidemic of narcissism in this country. And I didn't realize how bad it was until our former president got into office, and I could diagnose him without even trying. And a lot of psychiatrists have said it's malignant, which is to say it's incurable. Most personality.
For those people who don't even know, what is narcissism? Let's just start basic.
Narcissistic behavior really is about, how do I say this? They feel like they don't have to listen to anybody else, that they have the answers to everybody. They're very unempathetic. So, and if you try to let them know that you're hurting them emotionally or otherwise, they're less likely to, it varies. It depends upon where they are on the pendulum, but in the most severe cases, they tend to feel like, no, it's your fault, not mine. They like to, they really like to look at your weaknesses and not willing to look at their own. You could catch them red-handed at something, and they'll deny that it ever happened. And what's really interesting about them is that underneath it all, they're insecure. That's the irony about the whole thing. And then if you ever get into a situation where you sort of like end up pushing one of their buttons that tends to show that insecurity, that's when they come at you like a 2x4.
Wow. Now,
which is, by the way, when speaking of Trump, when Obama was kidding around with him back before Trump became president, about having to, his biggest concern was about a show and about one of the stars having to determine whether or not to fire a particular star. It was making fun of it. Trump wasn't at all amused. I think he found that quite insulting from his perspective. So there you go.
So qualities of a narcissistic individual would include thinking you're greater, grandiose than someone else.
And that you have all the answers. You're not willing to listen to somebody else's opinion. And then maybe even get a little sensitive if somebody else suggests something that may be contrary to what they're saying. And I tend to refer to Trump because he's
a good example. Let's be honest.
It's probably the model. I mean, I hate to say it. It's the model of what narcissistic behavior is all about. And I can guarantee you that a lot of Trump lovers are probably may listen to this and think that I'm I have no idea.
You're crazy. Look, I actually like Trump. I know him, but guess what? He is a narcissist. And anyone watching on the outside would think so. I like some of his work. I don't like some of his work. Clearly, there's a love-hate relationship, but he clearly, to me, when you said the word narcissist and you mentioned, that's what came to my mind. I'm the one who said it, Trump. Yeah, because yes, and other people like that who don't listen to other people's or value their thoughts and opinions. It's a little too much, but we do have those types of people in our society. Let's be honest. Clearly, what would you say? Is there a way you can't change it though? Is there a way to help those who are of that way, or they're not willing to be helped and there's really no cure in a sense?
Under the old DSM, they used to have 5 categories for rating people, and he was considered a category 2 type of thing, where insurance companies didn't want to cover personality disorders, period, any kind of personality disorder, because they felt like it was not treatable.
Could you hold off on that thought right now? We have a call coming in. I don't want to lose them. Hold on. Hi, welcome to the show. You are live on the line with Thomas. Who's this?
Hi, my name is Mary.
Hi, Mary. Please ask any questions you may have. Again, you are live, just letting you know, and nothing is off limits.
Hi, Mary. How you doing?
Hi. Well, my question is, I just recently lost my husband last year, and I'm really struggling to find my purpose in life. I was wondering if you had any experience working with clients experiencing grief.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, and I suspect that you're probably in the grieving stage right now, right? Mary?
I'm here. I'm sorry, you broke up.
Okay. I suspect you're still grieving right now.
Yes.
Okay. And tell me some of the stages of grief that you've been through. The anger, the sense of loss, where are you as far as that goes? Because there's several stages that people go through.
Well, I'm still kind of angry, but mostly wondering why him.
Right. Okay. Yeah. How old was he?
Excuse me, 57.
Oh God, that's young.
Yeah.
Was it heart attack or cancer or?
No, actually, it was a car accident.
Car accident. Oh my God. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, and I can understand why you might be angry, because you're probably angry about the person that he had the car accident with, I suspect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying not to, but
It's hard not to. That person took somebody away that you really love.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering how I can get past that.
Okay.
You know, like getting angry at the person, because after all, it was just an accident.
It was an accident, and I think the best way of dealing with it is sort of, have you been to therapy at all?
No.
Okay. It's usually a good idea to talk to a therapist, to get somebody who's not involved with you, and to sort of give you because see, the thing is, none of us have a guarantee that we're going to be here tomorrow. And in fact, I was having this conversation with my granddaughter. It's like, because she was saying, well, it will be 60 years before she reaches my age. And I said, assuming that all goes well, yes, it is. But none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow. And so we need to be thankful for each day that goes by. And part of that is recognizing that we don't know when our time is up. And when it happens, it's the people left behind that have to figure out a way to move on. So I would try to look at some of the aspects of your husband's life that were really positive, what he did while he was alive, your relationship with him, some of the good things good times that you've been through. What did he do for a living?
He was a photographer.
Okay, I suspect he made a lot of people happy with his photography. Did he do weddings?
Yeah.
Okay, well, see, now he's got a legacy with those photographs, correct?
True, yes.
Okay. Your husband left a legacy not only for them, but also you have grandchildren yet?
No.
Okay. Well, for your kids, he left a legacy for your kids, and his life, they can, assuming he's had a really positive life, his kids can basically carry on his legacy by copying their lifestyles based on what he accomplished in his life. Did that help a little bit?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, but I just want to say I'm really sorry to hear about your loss. I know it must have been really terrible when it happened, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, take care of yourself.
Good luck. Thank you. And just to go off on that for a quick second, the grieving process. I mean, you can't say a certain amount of time heals. Time does help the process, but could you just, for other listeners out there, she's still listening, I'm sure. What is the grieving process and how long can it take? I'm sure it's different for everyone, but just to give a sense of a timeline, normally, what can people expect when you lose a loved one?
There is, as you said, there is no time. I mean, it's different for different people. When it hits you is different for different people. You can really hit you right away. Sometimes you don't feel it until months later, sometimes even maybe a couple of years later, where you are in such a state of denial that you're afraid to deal with it. And then when you finally does, it's like it comes on you like a ton of bricks and you just start crying and you wonder where that came from. It's because it delayed ability to grieve that loss in your life. There is no, I'm not going to tell you, nobody can tell you exactly what the order is going to be and what the feelings you're going to have are going to be. But there is some point in the process, a stage of acceptance, and then trying to, especially if it's a person that has had a positive influence on your life, basically carry on their legacy in the sense of emulating who they were when they were alive. Mm-hmm. And that's why one of the reasons why people find foundations in people's, for people who passed away. Jim Valvano is a great example of that, because when he was alive, he talked about, never giving up. And I think that when it comes to things like cancer, for example, never giving up on trying to find a cure for that. I lost my mother from rectal cancer. I had a friend of mine, a colleague of mine I used to work with who died from lung cancer, and she wasn't even a smoker. I had a friend of mine who I went to high school with who died from cancer, and he was active. Cancer hits us for various different reasons from the various different levels, and some of us just have a genetic risk to that. And a girl that I took, I say girl because she was a girl at the time, but somebody I went to a prom twice in high school. I communicated with her like maybe at most a year before I found out that she passed away from breast cancer. And she had been battling it for 20 years. That hit me hard, even though we hadn't really seen each other for quite a long time. All those memories came back. But from what I read in the obituary, she really did have a positive life. She did a lot for people. She was a licensed practical nurse. A lot of people had a lot of positive things to say about her, and and that emulates what I saw about her when we were together in high school. So, yeah, I mean, it's like hard thing to talk about them.
Yeah,
for a lot of people.
Yeah, I lost my mom 5 years ago to lung cancer.
Sorry.
It's never easy, right? But I can say, and I'm not a professional, but normally for most people, not all, but time does heal to an extent. So the types of coping techniques when you lose someone, I mean, how do you tell it to someone when they're not in the right state and they want the help, they want to feel better? Is there any suggestions, though, someone out there who is suffering with a loss, like our last caller, that you would say?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, especially if you can talk, if you're comfortable talking about this with somebody that you feel close to, that sometimes helps. And if you both know the person, you can sort of exchange your experiences about what that person was like and what some of the things you did together when that person was around. That really helps. Sharing that loss really makes it more palatable. The worst experience I had was when my oldest daughter, when she was in her early 30s, lost her best friend. And she had some kind of heart abnormality and she just dropped dead. And she was one of the nicest people that I've ever known. And it was like losing my daughter. It's hard for me to talk about even now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I was a mess at that funeral. It was like, you think I was her father, I was like outside waiting to get into where they had her body and oh.
It's still gonna hit us hard, absolutely. And we're gonna cry it out and we're gonna,
Absolutely, yeah.
Not to get off grief, but to segue back to where we started for a moment. We were talking before the caller call. By the way, if you have any questions, 631-317-1291, 631-317-1291. You can ask about anything, grief, loss, relationships. He's here talking to us. Thomas, we were talking about narcissistic people in general, and you were on something, and then the phone rang. I forgot exactly where we left off.
Well, what I think I was going to get into is the fact that narcissism affects people, especially in relationships. And I don't think I've ever had, that I know of, actually had somebody. Yes, I do. Actually, I'm still seeing him. I do have somebody who's a narcissist, and he admits to it. But he's not a, how do I put this? He's a narcissist, but he does have some empathy.
Okay.
Which is a good thing, But I've seen a lot of people who have had narcissistic, caustic relationships that they didn't realize until after the fact, and has made their life hell. In fact, I just saw somebody for the first time today who's she's in the middle of a divorce, she was married to a person who was definitely a narcissist. Basically did not have any empathy about what kind of responsibilities he had dumped on her without seeming to want to help her with. They had a child together. He decided to buy a house even though he was still going to school. This sort of thing. I mean, I don't want to get too many specifics, but the bottom line was that he didn't understand the pressure that she was on in particular, trying to make things come together while he's pursuing a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be, you know, that can really push people to the limit. And she's been very depressed as a result of it. I mean, and not having a support system around you makes it even worse.
Yep.
So, you know, having a support system makes you at least be able to kind of get an outsider's point of view. And as I tell people all the time, it's like, whenever I work with people, I have the luxury of looking at it from above the woods. Because I sort of use the analogy that people are in the woods and they're flying blind, so to speak. They come to a fork in the road and they're not really sure which one to take. And I'm up here and I can see things much more clearly, and I can tell them about the potential potholes that might be coming up, so to speak, and then let them know that it's like, maybe you might want to consider another direction versus the one you're going down, sort of thing. So.
Got it. Thomas Bergvik, just remind our listeners of where we can contact you.
Oh, yeah, you can contact me. My phone number is 203-917-7674. And you can get me through the email at T as in Thomas, A as in Apple, Bergvik@gmail.com as well.
Perfect. And again, 631-317-1291 if you have any questions. Where else are we headed today, Thomas?
In terms of topics?
Yeah.
How about anger management?
Sure. Sure.
I get people coming in every once in a while having a hard time with their anger. And one of the things that comes up quite often, in fact, it's a second check. I work out of a workbook, and the name of the book is called Anger Management in the 21st Century. And the second chapter is about empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when people are having an argument, they tend to basically try to outdo one another and sort of like somebody says something that somebody did wrong, and the other person said, well, I got one for you and you did this. And it ends up becoming a shooting match. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to resolve anything. As I tell people, when you're in that kind of mood, you might as well just go to separate rooms or just get away from each other, because you can get as much of a response from each other as if you were talking to the wall. It doesn't work. And that's why I say you got to be willing to listen to the other person's point of view. And just to let people know, we've all been there. None of us are immune to that. So understanding that sometimes you need to sort of take a break from each other and sometimes sleep on it and figure out, okay, what was my role in this whole thing?
Yeah.
You know, why did everything happen like that? You might see things differently the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
You know, yeah.
And is there a lot more people? I mean, when the pandemic hit, clearly mental health is an extreme necessity for so many people. And things like anger management, domestic abuse, violence, there's been so much turmoil, anxiety, depression. I'm assuming this is something that's, has it gotten worse? Is it getting better? I mean, it's been 2 years of people in this state.
I seem to be seeing more people with anger management issues. Most of the people I work with, thank God, are willing to, or will come in and say, look, I know I have this issue. I need some guidance as to how to change my way of thinking or change my way of relating to people. It could affect a relationship. It could affect what's going on at work. But the bottom line is that it's destructive. And if you don't get it under control, it could end up costing you your your marriage, your job, whatever. And the other thing is, it's like the pandemic, what it's done. And like I said, it's tended to affect people in all different ways. But it's like frustration city out there. Mm-hmm. People have gotten really much more frustrated about how the pandemic's affected them. I've talked about being isolated at home and how that affects, and some people can deal with being, working from home. Some people can't. it drives them nuts. And it really comes down to, the issue, like I said last time I was on, we're all social animals.
Yep.
We need that contact with people.
Mhm.
And some people have no problem being able to, like you and I are having a conversation on Zoom. And other people need to have that, he needs to see the people in person. And it carries on something that's much more intimate, not in a sexual way, but you get to talk about things that maybe you don't want to talk about on Zoom, for obvious
Got it.
reasons.
Yeah, you feel more
And
comfortable.
so-
I get it.
Yeah.
And Thomas, I can't believe it. We are out of time. I know we started a little late today because I couldn't get you on the line, but it's 26 minutes. Oh my gosh. And I have to go to my next show. I apologize. See, we
No
get
problem.
talking. And we
Yes.
only had one call today. Thank you for reaching out. Again, any more questions for him, feel free to call, email the station 631-317-1291. Thomas, remind us how we can reach out to you directly, please.
Again, the phone number is 203-917-7674. And my email, you can reach me is at tabergvik@gmail.com. You can also reach bergvikcounselingservices.com. However you want to do it, go for it.
Thank
I'd
you
love
so
to hear
much.
from you.
Looking
Okay.
forward to speaking to you again. Thanks so much. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.